like this. So we can prevent the saw hitting on the opposite tail. Then the sectioning should be as parallel as possible to easily retrieve the die from the model. Turn to the armamentarium. This one is a no plane.
So now sir is going to show how the dipping has to be done, and then we will add on the crown portion. So can you anyone say that why does it need for dipping wax actually instead of adding increments? Anybody thought what is the reason for dipping wax in that one? Any See basically you have to understand the property of the wax. The wax property So the wax has a property of shape memory. So the wax tends to come back to its original shape. There is an elastic recovery of the wax property. So if you want to remove the memory of the wax, it has to be removed thoroughly. Then only the memory has been lost for the wax. So if it is dipped and then with the molten wax, the distortion there will be very less. That's why we are putting the dipping wax for covering the coating of the wax. Okay, then you can add incremental addition of the wax onto the build-up of the full motor wax pattern. So you see the melting temperature of an wax is ranging from 5 to 30 degrees centigrade. Why? Because it depends upon the composition of the wax. The wax has a different composition, different wax composition because to alter the property of the wax as such. So because of the range of different materials, the range of melting temperature also in a range, not in a point. So melting is not a melting point, it's a melting range. So again, the property of the wax will determine because of the melting temperature. So it will easily tend to distort. So whenever we are doing a hardening wax pattern, it has to be inverted as early as possible to avoid the distortion of the wax pattern, because there will be residual stress will be built up into the wax pattern and it will tend to release during a time period. So if it is allowed to be without reducing, so it will tend to distort further. And one more thing, after the wax pattern, if you are not going to reverse it immediately, you can store it in a refrigerator to avoid the stress, avoid the distortion as well, because it's a time dependent, also the temperature dependent.
Okay. Check. We will be showing a single teeth wax pattern fabrication now. As Dr. Nithyanarajan explained, we have to first initially apply die hardener, then die spacer, and then glue. After section, usually you have to apply. Check. So this is a lubricant. In this model, we have already applied die hardener and wax spacer. So I am directly applying die lubricant over it. So this will aid in removal of wax pattern for assessment. After application of die lubricant, just allow it to take a few minutes. this is margin wax, and you can see in this graph. This yellow color is the dipping wax, green is permanent bridge wax.
Yellow materials.
This red one is the margin wax, which is specifically used for adding the wax in the margin region, and we have dipping wax and crown and bridge wax. So this is the order we have to use for wax pattern fabrication. So after dye lubricant application, first we have to do dipping. So using this wax pot, the wax will be melted in the, it will be in the melted form. So we can just dip the dye into the wax pot. Just you have to use single dip.
இதெல்லாம் பண்ணலையோ இதுதான் பண்ணலைன்னா
When dipping, actually you have to dip it in that it has to be dipped in and then it has to be taken out of the same dash to avoid the excess bulk of coating. So now sir is doing that, he is removing the wax, excess wax goes beyond the margin. Then once that is done, then you can remove margin wax from the coating, and then it will be reloaded with the marginal wax to give the better adaptation for the wax pattern. So once the dipping is done, then you can retrieve the coating from the dye and have to inspect for the adequate flow of the wax into the dye surface. You have to see whether this properly flow, there is any irregularity or any aspect. If it is there, you have to reload. And one more thing, that removal of the coating from the dye is slightly difficult due to the bonding of the wax pattern, wax into the dye. So it has to be done with the help of the rubber dam sheet also. It will give friction between the teeth and between the coating and the finger. So you can remove it easily without damaging the coating. So one of the difficulty in coating, one thing is the center of the dye also, it may contribute to the difficulty of retrieval of the coating, because if the preparation was not done properly, there may be any undercut in the dye, so it will cause the flow of the wax into the undercut, so it will prevent the removal of the coating from the wax pattern, from the dye. So what we can do, we can do the block out of the undercut dye. It can be done from the click aspect also before any impression with the help of any restorative material. If it is not done, in the last step you can block out the dye with the help of autopolymeric resin or a light curing resin. With the light curing resin you have to apply it and to keep it at a light, it will be polymerized. If it is autopolymeric resin, you have to apply the resin and you have to spray the monomer. So it will be cured. So once the block out is done, then you can proceed with the dye loop application and then the dipping of the wax.
Space not பண்ணலாம்.
So
Usually.
If you see closely and buckle aspect, this is an equal aspect. There is a gap between the margin and the dipping wax. Because we have removed the total of wax from the margin in order to fill it with the marginal wax for better adaptation of the wax pattern. Why very concerned about this? Because as I mentioned, the success of a restoration based on the proper adaptation of the ground to the tooth surface. If it is compromised, whatever the preparation design you follow, retraction, cementation technique, will go for a paste. And one point I want to highlight during the section of the die, during preparation, every time we will be concentrating on the breaking of the contact. So that is very important critical step for the lab procedure. Why? Because the contact is not cleared properly. One, you will be end up a problem with retraction. You can't able to place retraction properly. That also influences in the laboratory step. Why? Because the tooth is in contact with the marginal contact with the adjacent tooth. While sectioning, you will be either sectioning the proximal surface of the tooth, adjacent tooth, or you can be compromising or you will be sectioning the niche margin of the prepared tooth. So you will be either land up in a short margin of the crown. So now sir is going to add in the marginal wax. He is using a low flame instrument. He is just placing a working tip into the depression and then he is getting it. One more thing, while eating, for example, we are going to eat it with a Bunsen burner, we have to heat the shaft of the instrument. Why? Because the wax has a property to flow away from the heat. So if you are going to heat the tip of the instrument, then the wax will be flowing towards the shaft. So you will not be able to add the wax to the type. So you have to heat the shaft and then the wax will be flowing to the tip of the instrument. So to begin with the wax pattern, now we are going to see the different instruments. PKT kit, it consists of 5 instruments. PK is a PK Thomas, he is in this instrument. PK1 and 2 is an addition instrument, it's a dropper. The one will be having a thinner tip and the 2 will be having a thicker tip. You see here, this is 2 this is one, it is having a thinner tip. So it will be helping you to have the wax in the more precise and then in the critical area. And 2 will be having a thicker tip for bulk addition. And coming to 3 is a burnisher. It helps to reach the smoothen the surface of the wax pattern. And 4 and 5 is an carving. Especially 5, it has an depression tip. It helps in carving the margin, carving the triangular edges of the cusp. So these are the 5 instruments, and even wax spatula can be used for bulk adding of the wax, especially in the body region. You can use wax spatula as well. So now he is using the PKD number 1. So anybody having used the electrical dropper or waxer? So what is the advancement of electrical dropper? See, electrical dropper has a consistent temperature, it is a controlled one. So, whatever the temperature will be standard, so the wax will not be heated too much, so the contraction of the wax will be minimized. But in case of Bunsen burner, it will be heating too much, and wax also will be heated too much, and there will be more amount of contraction with the Bunsen burner. And also, in electrical dropper, the time will be very less for addition compared to this Bunsen burner. Now there is adding marginal wax in increments along the margins.
The tips on female price இவருக்கு இல்லை.
So one thing you have to notice here, the more counting should be avoided because we tend to add the wax extra in the acrylic aspect. So as I mentioned before, we have to leave 1 mm of the two structure. We are below the margin, which below the finish margin, they are for pitching. Why? Because we want to preserve the remaining two structure so that we can get a proper emergency for the wax pattern. The more counting is we will again need to for the patient. So it will
இதுதான் பண்ணணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு போயேன் உட்காந்து தரேன். ஃபஸ்ட்டு பார்த்தோம்னா வருது நேரம் மூக்கு போட்டு பண்ணாங்க கண் ஸ்டேல் ஆகும்.
So, instead of doing more of excess max beyond the margin, why? Because if you do it properly, then only review of the coping. So, what are the minimum thickness of the coping? If you are going for a metal
Point.
So, what are the minimum thickness of a coping?
3 mm.
Point? 0.3 point? So what determines thickness, 0.3 or 0.8? Based on what you will be designing this? Based on the method what is going to use for casting. If the base material or whether thickness has to be increased or decreased. It has to be decreased. Why? Because of the property, because of the heat strength. So it is it is more stronger under thinner section as well. So you can use thinner section for based on the alloy. If it is going to round metal alloy, you can go for thicker dimension for coping. Now there is using rubber dam to remove the coating from the die because it will give friction between the finger and the wax pattern, as I said before. To try it will be able to feel it because with the bare hand it is very difficult to retrieve it. So what we can do, we can take the wax coating from the die with a sharp instrument. But the thing is, we can damage the finished margins. So again, you have to keep it again, you have to pull the margins. So instead of that, you can use this rubber dam technique. It's given in book itself. So now there is showing the aspect the surface of the coping to show whether it is flowed properly or not. The other surface is to view under 10x amplification of the inner zoom So not except the internal surface will fulfill, you have to also extend the margin. So you stay on the die as well. You have to look it from the root surface in the axial direction to see whether there is a gap or it's an uneven or whether a vertical efficiency of the margin. The coating is ready, you can go for a wax adhesion technique.
அதெல்லாம் அவரே என்ன பண்ணான்னு சொன்னாங்க.
If you're going for a metaceramic restoration, you have to adjust the coping thickness also in this step itself. Otherwise, you have to spend time in trimming, and there is a chance for perforation also. So you have to put the excess wax and you have to finalize the coping thickness. Then come the wax caliper. So once the coping is finished, wax coping, then you can add the component. So while adding, you have to follow the steps. First will be placement of cones. That is going to determine the tip of the cusp. That is the cusp of the restoration, what you are going for fabricating. So first you have to place the tip of the cusp with the help of the cone. How to decide that? First you have to close the articulator and you have to see where is the desired tip going to become. So in that region you have to place the drop of wax. The drop of wax tend to flow, so you have to hold it and then you have to blow air so that it will be full. So the tip of wax has to be, the cone has to be added and you have to gently close the articulator. So if it is more amount of height, it will be headed away with the here, and after that, we will be adding the buckle ridges. There is a easier buckle and distal buckle cusp. We have placed already 2 cones. Now there is a 4 cone is already placed. 2 cones on the buckle aspect and 2 on the lingual aspect. So once the buckle cones have been placed, you can add the buckle ridges. That is the mesial and distal side of the cones. You see, so what type of crystal scale is here in this articulator? Can anyone name it? Cusp posa or cusp margin? Cusp posa, exactly. So we can't change this to cusp margin crystal scheme, so we are going to follow the same here now. So now he has added the buckle cusp tip and then visual buckle and distal buckle cusp tip cones are added. And he is uploading and he is checking for the final height of the cones. So here, one thing you have to notice here, the visual cusp has to come between the buckle and the visual buckle and distal buckle cusp of the maxillary molars. It has to come in between, and you are looking from the lingual aspect, it has to be between the lingual cusps also. So it will mean to say that it is the center of the fossa. Now that is done, we have to add the buckle ridges. So once the buckle ridge is added, then you can go for a marginal ridge. The marginal height is determined by the opposing cusp. If it is a cusp for marginal ridge scheme, and the marginal ridge height is determined by the opposing cusp height. So once the cone is positioned, then buckle ridge will be added, then following the marginal ridge. Now the triangular ridge also. The triangular ridge starting with the cuspal slopes. The triangular ridge has to be added, and that has to be, the base of the triangular ridge should be towards the groove and the tip towards the cuspal tip. So now it forms an end-length region. There is a 4 cuspids, buckle ridges, lingual ridges, marginal ridges, and the triangular ridge. Now the central portion will be left out. You can create a good graph. So one thing is an 3-point articulator. So here we can do only confirmatory occlusion. We can't proceed with the functional occlusion scheme. So using an semi-resistive articulator, you can check for the progression of lateral extension also. in adding you have to do the propulsive and electric movements to determine the crustal height.
இது பண்ணுறாங்க டென்சர் அமைப்பாங்க குறிப்பான ப்ளஸ் மட்டும் இல்லாமல் புரியுதா மனசுக்கு
Coming to the contact areas, axle contours, you have to add the so the contact between the two adjacent teeth is it has to be either straight or it should be convex. So the idea of being convex is not really enough because there is a long accumulation between the contact region. So we have more draft will be more favorable. So you have to go ahead and put the area because you have to press the visual tissue over there. So you have to provide adequate space and also you should consider the interdentine cleaning area. So if you look at the contact in the natural position, how it should be in nasty molar, between the second and first molar, this is a middle third, and coming from the first molar towards the premolar, it will be in the occlusal third. And the occlusal contact will be more buckly. If you visualize the before more visual.
வாய்ஸ் சரியாக கேட்க மாட்டேங்குது சரி எதுக்கு பண்ணுறாங்க டெம்பரைசேஷன் பண்ணுற மாதிரி பண்ணுறாங்க
Coming to mandible, the contact will be of in the middle and also in the occlusal third. So while taking on the wax pattern, the pattern region and then the contact will be the adjacent tooth you have to establish as the natural location.
அதுக்கு மொத்தமாக ஆட் பண்ணி
இன்க்ரிமெண்டலாக
இதெல்லாம் நம்மளே பண்ணணும்னு எதிர்பார்ப்பாங்களா எக்ஸாம்பிள்ஸ் இல்லை இல்லை அது ஓகே கார்த்தியும் ஆர்த்தியும் வெளியிலேருந்து தான் செஞ்சுட்டு வந்தாங்கன்றது
Then the axle ridges have to be added on the buccal lingual aspect. So this has to be in proportion with the adjacent tooth. So it will not be over contoured. So if it is done, then the occlusal table will be broadened and then the space also will be generated more.
மூச்சு கொடுத்து இப்போ உயிரை கொடுத்து சொல்லி கொடுத்துட்ருக்கான்
The gingival around the wax pattern, that is below the height of contour, it has to be in relation, that is in contour with the unprepared margin of the tooth. So that is the marginal wax ready put in the occlusal aspect to benefit as carving. It is known as not friendly for carving. You tend to feel more.
உண்டுடா எல்லாமே வேக்ஸ் பிளாக் பண்ணுறாங்க
உங்களுக்கு இல்லை
உங்களுக்கு நம்ம பண்ணோம் கார் பண்ணணும் வேக்ஸ் கார்விங்
Prostho
பேத்தாலஜியில் இருக்கும் அந்த ஓரல் ஹிஸ்டாலஜி இப்போயா
Carving you have to do
Wax
it.
block
Wax
start
block.
பண்ணுவாங்க.
Always you can use cotton. And finishing the axle surface, you can use cotton color with different dye ingredients.
ஃபஸ்ட்டில் பண்ணாங்க எங்கள் மாமல் எங்களை
And after carving, you have to burnish it with an burnisher. So burnishing, you can use PKD number 3, and also PKD number 1 if it is used with a less temperature. Because heater with less temperature will help in finishing the wax instead of adding it.
சவிதா வந்தாலே ஹெச்ஓடிய சவிதா
And if you notice, the double cusp of the manular molar will be slightly higher than the liquid cusp.
ஒர்க் பண்ணுவான்
And that is to help in achieve the curve of the cell, and also to prevent the interference in the aerodynamic equation. And coming to the height of the crust, the height of the crust will be slightly increasing height from starting from premolar till molar in mandible, and it will be reducing from premolar till molar in maxilla to help the achieve curve of speech.
இந்த மாதிரியே பண்ணியிருக்கோம் போதும் போதும்
Coming to the pontic region, the pontic has to be designed in a standard pontic design, because being a posterior, the height is very, very important rather than being aesthetic. So we can go for a standard pontic. If the upper tooth is having good height and adequate clearance is available, then you can go for a pontic and there is a seven pontic. In seven pontic there will be
எல்லா மாடலும் என்ன சானிடரி கான்ட்ராக்ட் கொடுக்குறோம் செல்ஃப் ரென்ஸ்
reverse of standard pontic. This is convex depression.
அதையே கொடுக்குறோம்
Concave depression in the medial aspect of the pontic region. It will give more amount of space for cleansing as well as decrease the contact region thickness. That is height of the contact region. For adding the axle waxer, you can add the groove also. There is a development groove on the buckle aspect. If you find difficult, you can remove the dye and then you can do carving, and then you can see the plant, and then you can check for the final format also.
பொழைச்சிப்பா எப்படினாலும் பொழைச்சிப்பா யாரெல்லாம் நக்கினாலும் பொழைச்சிப்பா இந்த எக்யூப்மெண்ட்லாம் இருந்துட்டு நம்மளே காஸ்டிங் அடிச்சு ஆர்டர் போட்டு ஃபுல் அமௌண்ட்டு நம்மளே வாங்கியிருக்காங்க 600.
The target dimension either should be 3 into 3, but again it's based on the patient usability. Can be used for finishing the axle and then the vital release of the wax button. The pitch shape of your tail.
போதுங்க விடுடா இன்னைக்கு தான் கொஞ்சம் அவ்வளோ வயசுல இந்த ஸ்டாஃப் இருக்காங்க. ஜாலியாக இருக்கும்.
ரெண்டு வருஷம் ஹோட்டல் நாங்கள் அப்படி தான் நம்ம ஃபஸ்ட்டு டே நம்ம செல்ஃப் எடுக்கணும் தெரியாது சொல்கிறோம். நம்ம காலேஜ் செய்கிற மாதிரி ஒரு பவுஷன் எனக்கு இருந்துச்சு. அதுவும் சொல்லிட்டுலாம் அது கம்ப்யூட்டரில் இருப்பாரு. அதுவும் சொல்லி தான் பரவாயில்ல கேட்டு 1,00,000
This is the finished wax pattern for the second molar. Usually we used to place 4 cusps in this region, but in case of clinical case, we won't get any ideal cases for keeping a triangular ridge or cusp. Mostly we'll finish with buccal implants and lingual implants. You can see 4 cusps which is being placed and the central groove is carved. And I have placed a little bit of margin wax in the occlusal surface for the ease of carving and finishing. Then a buccal groove can be placed the buccal side of the wax pattern. This is a 3-unit free wax pattern. Connector and bonding is attached. This is already previously done. So for this case, we have made a custom fossa occlusal scheme. For an ideal FPD case, we will be giving a custom marginal ridge occlusal scheme. So there will be tripod contact on the cuspal T column. There won't be any contact in marginal ridge in the custom fossa occlusal scheme. For reference and checking of occlusion, you can use zinc stearate powder. You can use zinc stearate powder, which will be sprinkled over the wax pattern, and the articulator is closed. So where the contact is visible, you can see using that powder, which is not available now. You can use the powder named zinc stearate. So using that powder, you can check the contacts of the occlusal points.
இங்கே பெருங்குளத்தூர் போகிற பஸ் வருமா?
ஏன் உங்கள் வீட்டுக்கு போகிற பஸ் எப்படி வரும்?
பெருங்குளத்துக்கு போகிற பஸ் வராங்க. தாம்பரம்
நிறுத்தியா நீ?
Whenever I go for examiner, I used to see the students, the articulators. The arrangement was absolutely wrong. There is no glass plate relationship. The teeth arrangements will not be exactly on the ridge. Most of the time, whether the teeth arrangements, the arch form, so lingually or buccally, there is no proper arrangement. If you are going to follow the setting principles of the teeth, 75% they are able to 75% you are able to get a balance. Then after arranging everything, slightly adjust visio incisor, visio distal, buccolingual, epigocoronal, you will be able to get 15% of the balance. Finally,